Greetings, children of the screen. Your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here, and it is November 22nd, which means it is the day that we have been waiting for ever since DC Rebirth kicked off, the release of Doomsday Clock by Geoff Johns and Gary Frank. So, by design, Doomsday Clock stands not only as the story that will be answering many of the questions presented by DC Rebirth, but is also a companion or sequel story to the original Watchmen. And very much like the original Watchmen, this book unfolds in a slow manner that pulls you in very nicely. It resembles more of like a true, proper graphic novel chapter than an issue of a comic book. The plot for the first issue is very streamlined, and it focuses more on building the universe. The basic plot is we see that the world is falling into disarray after it has been revealed that the event that happened at the end of Watchmen was a farce put on by Adrian Veidt. So now the world is in disarray, countries are going to war, and in the midst of this we find Rorschach, who is breaking into a prison to release a prisoner for a mission. And this prisoner then refuses to leave without her husband, and in return for their work, they're going to be told the location of their their son. From that point on, they move on, and we see more of the world. We kind of establish what has happened in the absence of Dr. Manhattan, and with this new information having come to light, and the public becoming aware of it. Then we kind of move through the sewers, it seems, and come out in Night Owl's lair, but Night Owl is nowhere to be seen. Instead, we find the smartest man in the world, Adrian Veidt, who basically tells them that his plan failed, and he's willing to accept that. He's willing to accept the consequences, but they have to save the world. So he's sending them with Rorschach on a mission to find God. And that is basically the whole plot of this first book. It's just the setup. It's kind of the prologue more than anything else. And the only thing that was in this issue that we hadn't been told ahead of time is a firm confirmation that this Rorschach is not the original Rorschach. However, he is very similar to the original Rorschach, and they have a very interesting thing going on with him in terms of just how they play his character out. Like, they've definitely managed to create an air of mystery and intrigue around this version of Rorschach, and it makes me interested to see what they're going to do, because one of my biggest issues with this story going in was I saw they were bringing back Rorschach, and that did not work for me. Even the idea of it being someone else's Rorschach did not work for me, but Geoff Johns' writing in this book is really solid, not just on this character, but on the whole issue. And specifically with this character, he alleviated all of my concerns about it. All in all, despite the fact that not too much happens in this issue, it was really fantastic for what it was. There is no big, epic, boom moment in the book, because that's what this story is. The story is the big boom. So this is really more just getting us involved and invested in the universe, and then also getting us interested with the characters. And then the prologue gets a little epilogue where we get to see Superman back in the DC universe. And he has been having a nightmare, and as he wakes, he tells Lois that he's not sure if he's ever had a nightmare before, which just kind of sets up this nice, kind of gloomy air of doom, kind of makes things nice and dark. Now, real quick, I'm not going to go through the book page by page, because I really would like people to go out and buy this book. It really was great. It lived up to what I was wanting from it, and I highly recommend it. But I do want to talk about the art, and I want to take a look at some of it real quick. First off, I'd like to say that there's nothing in this book visually that does not work for me. The combination of the illustrator Gary Frank, the colorist Brad Anderson, and the letterer Rob Lee, and yes, I do count the letterer as someone who contributes to the visual style of the book. They all work in perfect synchronicity in this book, and everything about the visuals of it absolutely worked for me. In the book, like the original Watchmen, they use the 9-grid panel, for the work. And while I believe they break the 9-grid setup more often than the original book did, they still use it to an extreme degree of efficiency that really provides an interesting and engrossing pace for the book. There was never a moment where I was bored or where I was questioning what was happening. Everything moved perfectly the way that it should. Everything felt natural. It flowed. And a lot of that is attributed to their use of the 9-grid panel and knowing when to use it and when to subvert it for the best effect. Anderson's use of color in the book, which verges at times on impressionistic, really helps to carry both the mood and the flow of the emotional story arc running between the panels. The pencils and ink are astounding. They are beautifully done and provide an excellent modern take on the noir that is gritty, dark, moody, and shadowy, but without ever putting things out of the realm of sight. You can always see what's going on. You can always tell the small expressions on people's faces as they react to things, but you still get the nice, dark, washed out kind of noir feel from all of it. And beyond that, the way that Frank illustrates the classic Watchmen characters is beautiful. He manages to capture them in a way that both elevates them above normal men, while at the same time deeply humanizing them. And of course, Frank's depiction of Superman is again beautiful, mixing elements of Christopher Reeve's bone structure and physical appearance with a more modern aesthetic of the physical form of Superman, Clark Kent. It really just is fantastic. And on another side, apart from the art, that's beautiful, dedicated to Len Wein. That's great that they're doing that on a book this big. But on top of that, just like in the original Watchmen, there are these extra couple of pages in the back that just kind of look like nothing, kind of fun stuff. But if you go through and you read all of these individual articles, they all give you more texture and more kind of backstory to help you fill out what has been going on in the world in the meantime since we left the Watchmen universe. Except for this, I'm still trying to figure out if this is some kind of code or something, or if they just thought it would be fun to put in the menu from the dime. And right on, guys, that is the rundown on the first issue of Doomsday Clock as I see it. I was really happy with this book. I think that it is a testament that they were able to get the first issue out in a way that makes fans happy. As far as I can tell, I think people are going to be really satisfied with this. I highly recommend it. Even if you were just kind of interested on the periphery, I would say go and get it now, because it feels like, as good as this first issue is, it might turn out to be one of those modern classics, but don't quote me on that. It's the first issue. Anything could happen along the way. We got 12 of these, one coming out for the next 11 months, so anything could happen. But go and make sure and go and pick up yourself a copy tomorrow, read it, check it out, come back here and let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. I really want to know. I'm real excited for this book. I know there's been a lot of hype for it, and I'm wanting to see if it lives up to the expectation or if it just royally pisses people off. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. If you're not subscribed, make sure and subscribe, because I'm going to be coming back at you with each issue of Doomsday Clock, probably with a more in-depth review of the following issues. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Nerd Scum, out. I feel dirty. Because I'm like a scumbag, and I'm sitting here wearing Superman's crest, like no, it's not even like Lex Luthor, it's like if frickin' Captain Boomerang was wearing Superman. I can't do this, no. Yeah. Yeah, Damon's a scumbag. I can roll with that, that's fine. Cool. We're still rolling, aren't we?